your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Do have news to announce that we have had an injury. Marcelino Ball tore his ACL last week in practice, and so he'll be out for the season. So really, I hate that for him, and he's been such a great player for us, and really has matured so much as a young man, and so he'll handle it the right way, and so but he will not be able to play this season. So we'll wish him nothing but the very best, and as he will have the surgery here in the near future and begin the process of recovery for his future.
Welcome into Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle with you, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Kevin Brockway in with us as well. That was Tom Allen, Indiana's football coach, and the football season for the Hoosiers getting off to not the start that they would have liked, but can't say that big shocker, Kevin Brockway, as he sits in now. Kevin, we knew, as a matter of fact, I just talked the other day about we know that there's going to be a big injury come. It's going to happen to every team, but that happens every year. But there was just less of a doubt that it was going to happen now because no practice. It's just such a weird situation. Did not expect it to happen yet because they're not even in pads. They're not even hitting. So this was a little bit of a shocker to come this soon, but kind of a blow, man. They lose a big-time defensive stalwart in Marcelino Ball.
Yeah, well, kind of a fluky injury, too, the way Tom Allen described it, just kind of planted on the turf the wrong way. And but that's what happens sometimes with ACLs. I mean, it's when you least expect it. And, obviously a tough blow. Brian Fitzgerald is the next man up, and, he's transitioning from safety. He's, 209. I mean, Marcelino was 220. So, I mean, Marcelino was a pretty solid guy there at the Husky. And as you know, it's kind of a hybrid linebacker, defensive back position. So you got to do a little bit of hitting. But I think Brian has shown that in his career. I mean, he's forced a couple of fumbles. He's a guy that's, has a little bit of a nose for the football. So he'll be using some blitz situations, and also a big opportunity for DK Bonham as well, kind of a converted linebacker who will move up to second on the depth chart. 230-pound guy gives you a little bit more, beef in there in terms of stopping the run. So I think what you'll probably see Tom Allen mix and match those two. I mean, Jamar Johnson, I think they're more committed to him at the safety slot because they like his ball instincts and his ball skills. And he certainly showed that last year from the Husky spot with that pick six of a Tennessee game. So, but you could really use all three of those guys at that spot. You still have some depth there.
Absolutely. Speaking of how they will make those adjustments, Coach Allen talked about that.
Yeah, I think that you've kind of, summarized it pretty well. Brian Fitzgerald will be our young man that we're moving to that position. He'll be the starter there. And DK Bonham's also a young man that has been a stinger linebacker for us. And so he's going to be also getting lots of reps there right now. It's a very similar technical position in terms of how we play our defense. So he has been moved to that position. And then also we've got Jamar Johnson played there last year as the backup to Marcelino. So Jamar is an extremely talented football player. So he has the ability to play there as well. And then Noah Pierre also has the skill set to play there. And we got some other younger guys as well. So I feel like we got the depth to be able to rotate different guys. But right now it's going to be Brian Fitzgerald as the number one guy there at that spot, and then training DK Bonham to be his backup.
Indiana football coach Tom Allen talking about how they're going to make the adjustment after the loss of Marcelino Ball. Now, and then a unique thing here, Kevin. Marcelino, while he's a senior, because of COVID, he actually has another year of eligibility that he could employ if he so chose to do. I'm not sure that I expect him to do that, but that year of opportunity is there for him or any other athlete that wanted to do that.
Yeah, and we were somewhat remiss in asking Tom about that, but I think Marcelino is probably, his immediate concern probably is just getting through the surgery, and
right,
seeing how that materializes and how that goes. And look, he's a guy that I think probably has a borderline pro future, as a guy that would he be drafted? No, but maybe he would get a camp invite. So, but I don't know if he wants to start his pro career next year or have that extra year coming off the injury. But by then you're 23, 24 years old.
Absolutely. Not a lot going on in the world of college basketball right now. I know there's a few notes out there. If you go to the Hoosier.com, you can find Alec Lasley. He's keeping up on some things. Jalen Washington, the 2022 top 25 four-star of Westside High School, has been cleared for practice. He will continue to participate in a non-contact manner, as Coach told Alec yesterday. He is recovering from a torn ACL he suffered last season. Washington is one of the top talents in the country, but he missed most of his high school career up to this point due to injury. That's someone that Indiana has kept an eye on. How about the women? This should be a good year for Indiana basketball across the board, Kevin. The women's team, we already knew this, but I sent this tweet out the other day. The Indiana women's basketball program is in play. What they have set in place is the opportunity to have the absolute most success of any IU athletics program this season. They have the football team's got a lot back, but the women's basketball team, they've got more in place. They're ready. They're ready to make a run. This is a Sweet 16, potentially Elite 8 team here. They've got experience and talent, Kevin, to do the job.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I'm very high on what Terry Morin is doing over there in terms of, and you've obviously got Ali Patberg back, which is, one of the keys. It's, and don't forget, the transfer from George Mason, I think is going to be intriguing as well. And Grace Berger is back. You've got a lot of players in place here. Jalen Penn, people with experience. I think that's one of the key. And Nicole Cardano Hillary is the transfer I'm talking about from George Mason, another scorer. And really Terry Morin has used the transfer route pretty well with Ali Patberg coming from Notre Dame and obviously having the success that she's had. So yeah, I'm very bullish on this team. A lot of high expectations. We will just see in this strange season as far as getting off the ground and where they're going to play, how they're going to adjust their schedule, how things are going to go. But she's got this program going in the right direction.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the Bell Cal sports, football, basketball, men's, women's, soccer, baseball, Indiana's in a pretty good position across the board. Baseball, of course, we know Jeff Mercer's got those guys in a great shape. Of course, Coach Yeagley and the soccer program, they're one of the top programs in the country. Football team's on the rise. Let's see what they can get done. If the football team has a successful season and the women's basketball team has a successful season, how much more pressure does that put on Archie Miller? Because men's basketball is the Bell Cal sport at Indiana University, and that has to be the one that leads the way. I know that they're trying to get there, but if these other teams are getting there sooner rather than not, it's got to put a little pressure on him, I would think.
Yeah, no pressure, and no question. I think there's inherent pressure on Archie just being the coach of Indiana basketball and the expectations that come with it. Like you said, this is a tradition rich. This is a storied program. This is a program that fans want to see get back to the level that they feel like it deserves. I mean, to be honest, it's, there are a lot of banners hanging, on that, the 5 banners are hanging at Assembly Hall for a reason, because this is a championship level program. And I kind of liken it to, certainly maybe what Kentucky went through with, Tubby Smith. There were a few, he had that initial national championship basically with Rick Pitino's players, and he had a few down years, and then you go to Billy Gillespie and you're kind of in the wilderness, and then you bring in John Calipari in 2010 and 2009, and the whole thing changes. So I think that, they want to see progress this year. This is the year that they want Archie and to take a step forward. But listen, it remains a tough Big Ten. I mean, that hasn't changed. I talked to Tim Miles the other day, last week, and we were just discussing the state of the league and the number of players that are coming back. Luka Garza, Kofi Coburn. I mean, Illinois is a team that could be a potential Final Four contender. So you've got a lot of, teams in this league, and certainly with Iowa, with Luka Garza, another team too. Rutgers, brings back a lot of their players, and they're tough and they're scrappy, and they're going to defend. And Geo Baker is a guy that makes big shots. So you've got a lot of teams around this league that are tough. But with Trace Jackson Davis coming back with first, second year, I still think it comes down to the guard play, and that's going to be the key. I mean, is Christian Lander a guy that's going to come in and be able to be an impact guy? Can Anthony Leal give them some shooting? It looks like Archie is open to playing more 3 or 4 guard lineups, but it's one thing to say that you're going to play it, but you need the horses to play it too, and that's going to be something to watch this year. I mean, can the guard play elevate to the level where it even makes it easier for the front court? I mean, I think that's where you can have a guy that can break down a defense and do an easy dish off so that Joey Brunk can get a dunk, so that Trace Jackson Davis can get easy finishes inside. And I think that, to me, from covering the team the first year, that's the biggest thing that's lacking.
Speaking of basketball, how about the Pacers? The coaching search continues to go on, which it's starting to turn into a little bit of a drama. NBA pros usually don't go this long without a coach. A little surprising, but Victor Oladipo, that's now a part of the story, because will he stay or will he go? There was kind of a little bit of chatter about him before that it got to this point because of his lack of production after the injury, and India, and it's clear that this Pacers team, if they want to become a championship caliber team, they need a superstar. And while it looked like Victor was on his way to getting there, and he was just like he was just almost there, he's not that superstar. And now I don't know that he can get there after this injury. And have the Pacers regressed a little bit, and do they have to do this? Or I saw you had a post on this, so I know you have an opinion on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, when I read that story from The Athletic, it seemed to me like that whole Oladipo thing that everyone made a big story about was like a throwaway line from a writer in Boston that was basically talking about Gordon Hayward coming to the Pacers, and they said, like, but there are rumors that Oladipo's unhappy in Indiana, according to sources. Which, listen, we know that, but there wasn't anything really in substance in the story saying that. There wasn't any from what I'm hearing, it's going to come down to the new coach and that relationship. And if they bring in a coach that's offensive minded, and they have some success early in the season, there's a chance that Oladipo will stay. If not, then I would expect a move to be possibly made at the deadline. I think that's what it's going to more come down to. People have talked about the Heat as a possible destination. At one point I thought, well, maybe you package him in a deal and get Tyler Hero. I don't think the Heat is giving up Tyler Hero anymore after what he's done in the playoffs, or Duncan Robinson. Maybe you could have pulled the trigger on that deal sooner, but with the way the Heat are going in the NBA Finals. But listen, I think it's going to come down to the new coach. Basically, and that's based on all the information I'm hearing. And who is that going to be? I mean, it looks like Dave Jorger is the best option. Also, a memo to a certain popular talk show host in Indiana that was, beating the Billy Donovan to IU drum. That's not happening. Obviously, he's going to the Chicago Bulls. He's going to be. They're going to have money to spend there, which is what he wanted. He wants.
Oh, wait a minute! Did he start beating that drum? So you're saying I didn't know that he was beating that drum here recently when Billy Donovan was free? Yep, oh, I did not know that. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh well, y'all can figure out who we're talking about.
He was. But like I told you, he's not going back to college. Didn't want to go back to college. That's the information that I had received.
When he goes back to college at the end of his pro career, when he's kind of done with that, and maybe Florida is in need, and they need him to come back and be this savior, and he's done what he wants to do, and he's all right. I'm gonna go back now and retire down in Florida and be the guy. But it's kind of like Mike Brown's doing over in North Carolina.
Possibly, one of the things that I've heard about him, that his kind of end game is he just wants to do when it's all over. He wants to do like grassroots coaching. That's like he wants to just work with young kids. That's what he wants to do. Maybe as his retirement job in his 60s or so. People forget he's only 55, and I mean he started coaching big time college basketball when he was 31 years old. So he's been at the grind for a long time.
Absolutely. Mike DeCourcy is going to join us in the last segment today. He's got a doctor's appointment, so that works out perfect. But we looks like we need to hit a break, but we got plenty more to talk about, man. There is a ton going on. We've mentioned Marcelino Ball out for the year for Indiana football injury. We'll talk a little bit about catch up on what went on in high school football a little bit, what's coming up, and plenty more to get to is the NBA playoffs. Now we've got the finals. And I'll tell you, Coach Spoelstra, I thought this guy was a clown back in the day when he was with the Cavs. He just looked like a kid that didn't know what he was doing. Now they're trying to coach of the year. I'm like, oh, wow. Did he have to get away from LeBron James? I mean, it seems like LeBron's shadow was so big that he just covered that guy up as a coach. Man.
And, I think the thing is that the synergy that he has with Pat Riley, I think is the key to everything. The fact that this is a guy that was groomed by Pat Riley. He was in the video room, and they're in lockstep in terms of coach and player personnel. And when you have that synergy, and they've been together a long time, going on 15, 20 years, you can build a successful organization. I think that's really the key. And, that's something that, I think every NBA organization is looking for. You got to wonder with the Pacers. I mean, that's going to be interesting. Is Kevin Pritchard going to bring in a guy that he sees, eye to eye with, the new coach in terms of some of the modern techniques too, the analytics. That's going to be a key going forward.
Yep, let's jump into a break real quick. Mike is actually going to come to us on the next segment, so we'll have him here when we come back. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and we're back with Mike DeCourcy right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you will find complete coverage of Indiana sports and recruiting news, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience. You can find it any place you podcast or right here on this station each weekday. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Call your local station and tell them you want Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
No matter where you are in life, here's a question to consider. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you navigate where you want to go? An Ameriprise advisor will take the time to truly understand what's important to you and help you prepare for whatever life brings, both the expected and the unexpected, by providing personalized advice based on your goals and needs, and regular reviews along with digital tools to help you stay on track. With an Ameriprise advisor, you can feel more confident, connected, and in control of your financial life. Call Dennis Schneider, Heath Schneider, or Nick Davis with Schneider & Associates, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Call 877-827-1404. That's 877-827-1404. See Dennis Schneider at 236 North Elm Street in Henderson and Heath Schneider or Nick Davis at 20 East Campground Road in Evansville. Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Tuesday. And as always, we are joined by the great Mike DeCourcy. Michael, how are you, sir?
I am well, Jim. How are you?
Great, feeling good. It's Tuesday. I got Kevin Brockway with us as well. We've got lots to talk about. Most of it good. Unfortunately, a little bad news for Indiana came out yesterday. Marcelino Ball, a senior that they've lost to an ACL, but injuries are going to be part of this. We know it happens every year, so this will be no different. We saw with the NFL some big-time injuries happening quickly, but I was a little surprised by this one because they're not even in pads and hitting yet, and they've already lost a guy to an ACL.
Well, you know, that's the thing that I often talk about when basketball players are playing in their season, and like when Zion was playing, and he hurt himself, and there was the great push to say, "Oh, shut it down, because you'll just hurt yourself, and then it'll hurt your draft stock and all of that." And my response to that is always, well, do you think he's going to just like sit on a couch and eat potato chips? I mean, he's an athlete. Even if he doesn't compete, he still has to train, and players can get hurt in training. And this is an example of that, to sort of prove the point that if you're an athlete, there's a chance you could be injured getting in shape. There's a chance you could be injured on the way to the gym, for goodness sakes. I mean, we certainly hope that doesn't ever happen, but we know that it could. And so I feel terrible for the young man. That sort of injury is such a blow. Zach Banner for the Steelers in the opening game against the Giants on Monday night a couple of weeks ago walked off the field and knew that his season was over. He had worked his tail off to earn a starting job, and he didn't hurt. He hurt because his knee hurt, but he wasn't upset because his knee hurt. He was upset because he knew he wasn't playing any more football this year, and he would have to go through a whole year of rehab just to get back to where he'd been 12 months ago. So I certainly feel for the young man here. It's an awful thing to have happen because you know what it means. You'll walk again, you'll run again, you'll compete again. But you also know that for 12 months, basically, you're out of the thing that you love. And it underscores as well why it's so important for the Big Ten to come back, for the Pac-12 to come back, for the SEC and the ACC to be in action. These athletes are doing what they love to do and what they have to do and what they have a very limited time. Even if they're professional prospects, they have a very limited time of their lives to be able to do this. And so to be able to create a safe environment for them to do these things is absolutely essential. And I think we're seeing that take place in a lot of places now, and I applaud the people who are making it happen.
Yeah, I think of Teddy Bridgewater when I think of one of these freak injuries who was a couple years ago. He was just dropping back in practice by himself, no contact, and he's out for almost 2 years, just doing nothing. So yeah, it takes nothing in any sport to get hurt. So it's always a shame, but they will go on. And the good thing about college sports is there's plenty of students out here that are looking for opportunities. And the good thing is he has an extra year if he wants to use it. He'll be a test case. Is that a guy that wants to come back? I don't know that he will, but wishing him the best of luck regardless. Great Monday night game last night on the NFL. Well, we were expecting that of the two big superstars, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City just looking more and more like they are the juggernaut of the NFL.
Yeah, except that look, they're going to be right there at the end of the year. But we tend to react to what
it has, and I think
they were losing to the Chargers. And the Chargers basically had to hand it to them for them to get back into it. The Chargers were on the 3-yard line, I think, with an opportunity to score and managed not to. And if they had, it would have Casey's only way back into the game would have been a successful onside kick at one point. So they're tremendous and an amazing show when they're at their best. But I caution people to not get too overboard about what they saw last night and all of a sudden say, well, just hand the Super Bowl trophy to the Chiefs, because there's a lot involved in this. There are 13 more games for everyone. It's a tough ride. Guys are going to get hurt, as we just discussed. Right now, I listen sometimes, and sometimes people ask me, and when I do radio interviews during, let's say, January, who's the best team in college basketball? And my answer is, I don't care. I don't care who the best team in college basketball is today. It carries no meaning. Who's the best team in the NFL the third week of the season carries no meaning. What matters is who's the best team in January and February. And it's a long road to get there.
Hey, Mike, Kevin Brockway here. Do you think Lamar Jackson needs a few more weapons? Jim and I were kind of discussing this off air in terms of his number one guy is basically a tight end. And I don't know, do they need to go out and get him that kind of Cadillac wide receiver? Certainly, not to denigrate Mahomes, and I love him. He's on my fantasy team, but he's got a few guys. It seems like he's got a few more weapons to work with compared to Lamar Jackson.
I honestly don't have a ton of faith in that style of offense winning Super Bowls. They're going to win a ton of games in the regular season. They run the ball really well. It's very hard to stop Jackson when he's at his best. If you don't have a great plan for it, he's very difficult to stop. And they have a very fine defense. I'm not yet sure how good it is. I think it's very good at least. It could be great. They're going to win a lot of games, but I think there's something in that number, the 0-6 now in games they've trailed at halftime. I think there's a lot in that number because it's the nature of the offense. It's always been the nature of the option offense. You have to get ahead, and then you stay ahead by grinding the other team. But if you get behind, what's your option? How do you get back? How do you get back in when the style of offense that you play is designed to not score quickly? It's designed to score at a measured pace. And if you get behind by a couple touchdowns, as the Ravens did last night, can you throw your way back into it? And I think Lamar is a fine thrower, but he's a fine thrower in certain circumstances. He's not been a drop back passer. And the Ravens chose when they selected him to build an offense around him rather than to try to get him to accommodate to what is a typical NFL offense. And it has its upside, 14-2, and its downside, early playoff elimination.
Yeah, I sent out a tweet, Mike. It's funny you said that compared if these two offenses were a video game, Baltimore would be played on Atari and Kansas City would be played on PlayStation 2. That just looked like such differences of what it's like what you just said. They're behind. I'm like, you cannot continually to run the ball when you're behind like that, man. It's taking all the time up. But they continue to do that. But I agree with Kevin. They've got to get some weapons in there for him. Some other things I want to talk about. Opt-outs. A lot of opt-outs in the Big Ten. And now with football coming back, we've got a lot of opt-outs that are opting back in, which is great for college football, great for the Big Ten. Rondale Moore, probably the biggest name. That's got to be just that changes Purdue's entire fortunes. But I'm glad to see these guys get to do this. Not all of them have come back, but I think most have. But I'm happy that they get to do this.
I think it's a great statement for college athletics because it goes back to what I talked about before when Zion got hurt and having to counter all the people who think that college athletics is merely what you do to get ready for the NBA or NFL draft. And I think, look, I want all those guys who are going to be great pros, and to make all the money and all that. But I think there's a lot. Part of the reason why the NFL why the NFL and NBA prosper from the systems that the colleges provide them. Part of the reason is because those games matter. I mean, they're the only minor leagues, so to speak, that play games that matter. Everybody else is just basically is exercising, and the exercise is specific to the sport. You play in the G League, you're playing basketball, but I mean, nobody cares. I mean, literally nobody cares. Maybe the coach cares because it looks better for him to get a job somewhere if his team is 35-20 as opposed to 20-35. Maybe the coach cares, and he's going to push the buttons to try to win the game. But if you look at minor league baseball, there are a lot of times when the phone will ring in a minor league stadium, and the parent team says, "Hey, we don't want you to throw this guy more than 5 innings because we don't think it's good for his arm." Well, yeah, but I can't. I want to win the game. Well, it doesn't matter. What matters is what we say. I mean, that's the nature of minor league sports in most circumstances. But in college, you're trying to win the game, and there are 70,000 people in the stadium, or 100, or if you're at Michigan, or 24,000 at Rupp Arena or whatever, that care if you win, plus the millions that watch at home on television. They care about the outcome. That's what separates it. And having to contribute to a winning effort, not just exercising, that makes a difference in how you develop as an athlete. I think it's an enormous benefit, and I think it's a huge reason why a lot of NBA players gain the success that they do. Look at a guy like Steph Curry. He became a great player in part because he played in big games in college. And it's the same with Trevor Lawrence, why he'll be a terrific NFL quarterback.
And Kevin, we saw this past weekend, man, that was just a ton of great games. I had a blast watching college football this past weekend. It was so much fun. So I'm expecting more of that. And both of you, what is your take on the fact that I keep banging on the drum that a team like Indiana, I think, could have their best opportunity this year because of going to places like Michigan and not have to play in front of 110,000 people? How much difference will that really make? We'll see.
I've said before, and I'm not sure in what venue, but I've said before that I think that part of the difference is in how you feel, how you as the player, the Indiana players feel going against 100,000 people at the Big House, but also to an extent how the official feels about not having 100,000 people scream down his throat. I mean, he's that feeling, that, geez, if I don't call this, man, and I know officials try not to be swayed by that, and the best of them aren't, but all of them are human. And so I think that plays a little bit into it, probably more in basketball than in any sport, because you're right there. And in some cases, I mean, you're literally 10, like at Allen Fieldhouse. I mean, when a ref is handing the ball to a guy taking the ball out of bounds, I mean, the fans are literally 4 feet, 5 feet away. So I think it does feel different in basketball. And so playing in empty or mostly empty gyms and stadiums does sort of purify the competition to the point where it's really about who plays better. And the other extraneous factors, the crowd noise, the disruption, and all that stuff, and maybe a little bit of the officials getting some sweat on their necks, that stuff doesn't play into it. It's really it's like it's like a pickup game, but much more sophisticated. It becomes about who's making the baskets or throwing touchdowns or whatever, making the proper blocks. It becomes about that.
Without a doubt. Kevin, we've also been talking about Victor Oladipo. Mike's an Indy guy. Both of you guys, what do you think about the Victor Oladipo saga? I hate that for him, for all of that, how that's kind of playing out right now.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know what he's looking for. I mean, he's never going to get a situation where he is as appreciated as he is in Indianapolis. I mean, there's literally impossible. I mean, he played at Indiana. He became a hero with the Pacers when he broke out after the trade from OKC. He did not have a great experience in Orlando. He had a better experience in OKC, but not extraordinary. And then he came here and became a star. Where does he think he's going to get a better deal than that? Now, if there's something we don't know about what the Pacers are willing to pay him, that would be a different thing. And I'm not sure. Again, I don't know if the Pacers look at him now as someone worth breaking the bank over. And I would understand their reluctance. I would want to see him play to the level of what was that 2018. I would want to see him play to that level again before I was willing to invest the level like James Harden money or something along those lines in a player. But I really don't quite understand exactly what he thinks is what horizon is out there for him that would be better than Indy.
I think he wants to see, Mike, the coaching to the situation. If they bring in someone that maybe is a little more offensive minded, based on some of the things that I'm hearing with regards to that, like it's going to be interesting to see who the next coach is, how open the offense is going to be. And just with regards to, I think that marriage will be interesting between the beginning of the season and the trade deadline in terms of whether Vic wants to stay long term.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to figure out what they need, what they want to do with the post as well. Whether they want to continue to play two big guys, somewhat. It's somewhat problematic from a defensive standpoint to do that. Offensively, they can make it work because Miles is so good as a shooter, and Sabonis is such a great passer that both of them can function away from the goal. The question is, can you defend the other team in that alignment? Miami in particular is a problem, and here's Miami now in the NBA Finals, and they're a problem playing against them with the group they have. If you play both Miles and Domas together, it becomes problematic to function defensively along the perimeter.
Mike, I appreciate you joining us as you do each week, man. I hope do you have anything coming out that the fans need to know about?
No, nothing in particular other than that project I told you about, which is a few weeks away, but
just want to make sure.
Follow me on TSN Mike, and I'm sure we'll have some fun things to talk about between now and then.
Oh, always do. If you're not following Mike on Twitter, you're missing out. Always a great entertainment. Mike, I cannot thank you enough as always, brother. We appreciate you so much. Hope you have an incredible week.
Tim and Kevin, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next week.
The great Mike DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. It gets even better. Guess what? Coming up next, Chronic Hoosiers join us. We're back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you will find complete coverage of Indiana sports and recruiting news, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience. You can find it any place you podcast or right here on this station each weekday. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Call your local station and tell them you want Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
No matter where you are in life, here's a question to consider. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you navigate where you want to go? An Ameriprise advisor will take the time to truly understand what's important to you and help you prepare for whatever life brings, both the expected and the unexpected, by providing personalized advice based on your goals and needs, and regular reviews along with digital tools to help you stay on track. With an Ameriprise advisor, you can feel more confident, connected, and in control of your financial life. Call Dennis Schneider, Heath Schneider, or Nick Davis with Schneider & Associates, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Call 877-827-1404. That's 877-827-1404. See Dennis Schneider at 236 North Elm Street in Henderson and Heath Schneider or Nick Davis at 20 East Campground Road in Evansville. Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios on this Tuesday, and it would not be Tuesday without Chronic Hoosier, and he's with us now. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Joining for the first time ever via Zoom, so it's great to see everybody's smiling faces on a Tuesday morning.
Isn't it funny how Zoom has become the fabric that holds us all together now? It doesn't matter what you're doing in life. If you're not on Zoom, it ain't happening.
Now, it is. It's one of those things that if you would have told me just 8 months ago that everything we do is going to be transitioned to a video app, we're never going to go places, and somehow productivity is probably going to go up, and you're going to work more, even though you never leave. I would not have believed you, but here we are, man.
Well, Kevin, like yesterday, we found out that, which we probably already knew, but virtually all of the post-game press conferences, all of our pressers this year will all be done via Zoom. We won't be doing anything face-to-face, and it is different. It's not as good. You don't get the emotion. It's just but it is what it is, and that's where we are, Kevin. And everybody has to do that, and you have to adjust to doing this job differently, which is a little weird and not as good, but
well, in some ways it makes it more convenient, and then it's kind of funny because I used to consider as a reporter somewhat sacrilege, right? If you didn't attend a road game, writing a game off TV, but now it's almost become a necessity. You know what I mean? And you can hop on the Zoom call after the game and write about it. So I mean, there's some pluses to it, there's some minuses to it, but we will see if we can ever kick this virus aside and get back to that good old human interaction and all those people cramming into locker rooms and so forth. But maybe this is a signal of that never coming back too.
Let's hope not. Chronic, the thing, college football off and running over the weekend I talked about. Man, I had a blast watching some of those games. But the one thing we're not going to have in the Big Ten is fans. There's been a movement trying to get that changed, and I don't see that changing because the Big Ten has been such a stalwart on the health issue of this. I don't think that they will go back and eat any more crow. I've said that. But there is definitely a movement to get that done. I think teams like Indiana are better if they don't allow fans in, because if you go to places like Michigan, when you don't have to deal with that, that's to Indiana's advantage.
I think so, and I think that's going to be one of the big question marks that hangs over the season is how does the environment change when you take all that energy out of the stadiums. Zach and I talked about this last week on Mind Your Banners. For all the benefits tactically, strategically of not having to deal with the crowd noise. One thing we've seen though, and perhaps the Falcons, Zach's hometown team, maybe display it better. The thing about fans, though, is the way in which they can inject energy into a game, the way in which they can affect momentum, big plays. It's been startling so far this season to see just how dramatically, how rapidly momentum can completely escape one team and go to the other. In the absence of having those fans there for the home team, you're in big, big trouble the minute that your opponent loses any of that fear that they're no longer in the game. And it's really going to be a great equalizer across the board. Now, whether it's Indiana's net advantage or to their detriment remains to be seen. The one thing that I keep going back to, though, is this has the potential to be a really special Indiana team. It was a very special team last year, and obviously returns all sorts of talent, all sorts of skill. The one thing that's going to be unavoidable is you're going to deprive the entire fan base of the ability to see them up close. Now, does that matter a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, whether you're sitting in the stands versus watching the game on home or on your TV at home? I don't know that for sure. I just know firsthand, having been in that stadium with my family as a kid, having become a parent and taking my kids in there, there's nothing like the feeling of walking through those tunnels and seeing Memorial open up in front of you. Just all the pageantry that takes place on game day. Those are special moments, and those are going to be really, really difficult to replace sitting in your living room.
Absolutely. And even as, like Kevin said, we're going to be doing things that we're not accustomed to as far as covering these events. But hey, it is what it is. And as we're slowly getting back, these towns slowly getting back we were talking in the break about some of the restaurants in and around Bloomington. These guys are trying to get back. You got students. We've seen that they've done a much better job of fighting the COVID. And when they first came back, it was a mess, but it seems like they've kind of gotten things under control in that regard, which is a good sign because the players, Tom Allen talked yesterday, they did 1,200 rapid tests. They had one positive, and that was not a player or a full-time staffer. So those guys are going to the trouble of doing what they need to do, and they need to be rewarded in every way possible.
No, for sure. It's been nothing short of amazing how quickly they've been able, just campus-wide. You talk about the athletics and their access to rapid testing. The entire campus, after really starting off on a rocky foot, everybody tested when they first came in, and the numbers looked manageable, and then how quickly it blew up, and that made a lot of headlines. On the inverse side of that, though, they've done a equally awesome job in getting those numbers pushed back down and keeping them extremely manageable. And I think it bears mentioning even the Greek community is part of that as well, who took the brunt of a lot of the criticism for some of the behaviors and the outbreaks on campus. So that's certainly been a positive development. Basically a month now into the school year and some change, that they're able to hold it together. They're able to keep things as close to the plan as possible, knowing full well going into this that the best laid plans are going to get laid to waste rather quickly. Now, the key is going to be if they can sustain that throughout the season, because with no room for error in this scheduling, it could get awful chaotic in the event that, some teams are only able to get 6 games off, some can only get 5, some play a full schedule. How that all shakes out in the end with all the implications, because let's make no mistake, the fact that they're having the BCS championship this year pretty much pushed all the conferences that were on the fence back into the game, knowing just what was at stake if they didn't compete. And if that's ultimately the reason that they're doing all of this, it's going to get awful wild. If Ohio State's undefeated, or maybe they have one loss, whereas, say Michigan is able to, or Penn State can pull off an undefeated season, but they only get 5 games in. It's going to be a mess in the event that things start to break up along the way. And I can't wait to see how those politics will play out, because, based off what we've seen so far this season, it would be dramatic.
Yeah, but you think they stick with the 4-team playoff for this year? I know that everything's contracted, but everything can always be changed at a moment's notice when it comes to TV and money. But do they go to more teams for this year only?
Because I don't know if you have the window, the amount of time to do it, unless you push things back. I think it'll be pretty difficult. And, what's kind of interesting, this whole thing that people are not addressing is final exams. You're going to be playing through a lot of these. A lot of times schools give like a couple of weeks off in December for kids to prepare for finals. How are they going to do that? Are they going to have people do finals earlier, maybe later? I think that's something that's kind of interesting as well. But I just don't see enough room on the calendar to pull it off this year. I think that's something you might see down the road, though, to make up revenue next year and the year after that, where you're going to have to get this to 8 teams. Because, and I think it would be, really intriguing to have a group of 5 team in there, like a UCF or something, just to see what they could do and have that kind of, automatic qualifier just for the underdog nature of it, make it like the NCAA tournament, just to see where they measure up and see if they have a shot.
And then on the recruiting side, Chronic, there's a lot of big names that are Indiana's waiting on. I think that this class right now only has one commitment with Logan Duncombe, but man, oh man, are there some names that can turn that around in a hurry. And I think they end up with Trey Kaufman, and I think they get another high-profile name. I think Archie's going to pull in a pretty strong class here. This COVID thing has changed that as well. These kids have not been able to go visit and go places. Trey Kaufman took it upon himself to drive down to Virginia, North Carolina, and just do his own little tour. Most guys don't do that, but Archie's on the precipice of bringing that class in to get his program kickstarted. I mean, not that he's already not kickstarted, but you know what I mean, to really propel it, and he's right there.
Now, the more I've talked to folks that are in the know on this, the more it seems like Trey Kaufman's really going to be the domino that sets everything off, no matter which way he goes with his commitment, if and when it eventually comes. That I think is the impetus that really unleashes whatever is going to come from this year, because in the event that he chooses elsewhere, you've got a lot of guys who are, playing a similar position that Indiana's recruiting right now that are waiting to see, knowing that he's their priority target. Their minutes would be very hard to come by if they were both here together. So in the event that he takes his talents elsewhere, then that position fills. You've got a lot of shooters, a lot of guards that are looking at that spot too. Talent attracts talent. It always has. It always will. You've seen this thus far, but I think certainly as far as cementing the class of 21, that's going to be the key piece that really tells you what else is going to fill in. But we got to wait to figure out what Trey's doing right now. I think before you see a lot of movement on that.
Let's see, the Champions Classic expected to be on December 1st in Orlando, Michigan State, Duke, Kansas, and Kentucky. So hopefully college basketball is returning. Anything coming up for you, Chronic? I know you guys just had an episode of Mind Your Banners.
We're kind of in a holding pattern right now. We did a football preview pod last week with Galen Clavio. That was a lot of fun. Just really looking forward to getting the Big Ten involved on these Saturdays. It's weird waking up every day and you see, the normal rites and traditions of college football taking place, and then all the teams that you follow around the conference just staying idle right now. So excited to be able to see Indiana as well as the rest of the Big Ten take part in that. Excited to have something to talk. It's going to be weird though, because this is one of those, everything in the sports calendar is weird right now. You're basically going to have football and basketball for purposes of practice and, full activity starting almost at the same time. Obviously football's practicing right now. But to have those seasons running almost directly concurrently is going to be extremely strange. But that's just going to be a warm up for what we're going to experience this spring, with everything else getting lumped into the back half of that. You're going to have almost everything but football playing at some point, late winter, early spring. So there's going to be a lot to get used to, but it's better than the alternative as we've seen this summer.
Absolutely. Man, I hope you go out and have a great one. Have a Chronic day and just do what you do and have fun. We can't wait to do it again.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to join by Zoom this time.
Loved it, man. I loved it. Chronic Hoosier joining us as he does here each Tuesday on Indiana Sports Beat, and it would not be a Tuesday without him. Kevin, it's a fun day. It's always so much fun when there's so much to talk about, and this is a Tuesday. It won't be long, I think, once the Big Ten gets going. I think by then, are we going to have college games on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday each week then? Just getting those games on TV, because we normally do have Tuesday, Thursday games anyway. Of course, the NFL has kind of jumped in on that Thursday deal, but it could be a plethora of games coming to us, because we know we've got a ton of sports coming. The Masters is coming. The Preakness is yet to come. We just all these basketball tournaments that are going to be in bubbles everywhere. Lots to get to.
Yeah, and it's going to be pretty hectic, I think, for us to keep up with all the stuff as well, with those two, with all the sports, going on at the same time. I mean, December is going to be quite the interesting month. We haven't seen the revised Indiana basketball schedule yet, but once it comes out, we know they're going to be in Asheville, right? That last week of November, going into the first week of December for the Maui Classic, the Asheville Classic, right? North Carolina, in the beautiful western North Carolina mountains. So that'll be interesting. And from there, we'll see what IU's schedule looks like. And the Big Ten ACC, I think they're talking about that being in Orlando as well, because that's an ESPN event. So, there's a chance that they could be down there for that as well.
Yeah. Does Indianapolis end up getting anything, I wonder?
Well, not yet, but I mean, Indiana has the Big Banana, the Final Four, which is in March. So I think, there's actually been some talk about a lot of the NCAA tournament maybe being in this region, which would be a heck of a lot of fun to be able to cover all those games.
It would sure make up for a lot of it. Hey, man, we've had a blast. Kevin Brockway has been sitting in as he's going to be here each and every Tuesday. Of course, Mike DeCourcy joins us each Tuesday, Chronic Hoosier as well. It's a great day. Make sure you follow all those guys. Give Kevin a follow as well. He's with CNHI Papers, gives complete coverage of Indiana as well. Man, I appreciate you. Look forward to doing it again next week.
Sounds good.
Cannot wait. Hope you guys go out and have a great day. Do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. And until tomorrow, we'll have Dustin DePere, Cal Nedrip with us. Until tomorrow, wear your mask. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.